Hi, I'm Saki, and I'm going to show you something a little bit different today. I'm going to show you how to mix and kind of master a song. I'm trying to record a concept album, and this is one of my works in progress. This is one of the tracks that is potentially going to go on the album. And just for the sake of this video, I just wanted to do it really quickly and not spend too much time on it. So it took like 20 to 30 minutes to record it and then about half an hour to mix it. So you can have a song that sounds reasonable within 1 hour. And by reasonable, I mean like it won't hurt your ears to listen to. The raw recordings will hurt your ears. So I recorded all of this at Mesa College, San Diego Mesa College, Mesa Community College. And if you are a starving artist, I highly encourage you to enroll in a recording arts program at your local community college because it's really affordable. My enrollment fees were like $148 or something for the whole semester, and I have access to all of their fancy like mics and software and stuff, and for $150 I can't even purchase like a pair of nice headphones and one mic and an audio interface. So yeah, it just makes a lot of sense. If you're getting started, you should just enroll in the course, and then they'll also teach you things. That's where I learned how to do all this stuff. I'm still a noob. I've only taken 2 semesters of recording arts, and I feel like I don't know anything, but well, I definitely know more than someone who hasn't taken those classes, which was me 2 semesters ago. Anyway, so I thought I would share the knowledge, and you can watch me be a noob and do a mix of one of my first songs. So first I tracked the guitars, nothing exciting going on here. Then I had to switch rooms because there was a drummer who signed up for the room that I was in. Alright, we're gonna try to record vocals while they're recording drums in the adjacent room. You set out to seek the truth and thus become more wise. A fool you were to play the sleuth, for all there was were lies. So that was my iPad recording, which captured the drum sounds, but here's the recording from the actual mic I was singing into. There's like no drums in it. It's pretty amazing. A fool you were to play the sleuth, for all there was were lies. After that, I recorded the other vocal part, take 2 of vocal harmonies low. You set out to seek the truth and thus become more wise. So far we have 2 vocal parts and a guitar, and this is what it sounds like all together. You set out to seek the truth and thus become more wise. A fool you were to play the sleuth, for all there was were lies. So this song features some special effects. I wanted to create this story. The meaning of the song is that this character, maybe it's not a character, but people go out into the world and try to like find the meaning of life or something. They try to like look for a purpose. They're looking for something and they don't know what it is, and they spend all this time looking, and then they realize that the thing they were looking for was within themselves the entire time. I kind of wanted to have as my special effects some wind and storm sounds. It's like the listener is going out on this journey out into the world, out into the great outdoors, maybe out to sea and into the storm. They're flying into a storm and they don't know what to expect, and it's a scary world out there. And then they come home and they're like, yeah, I didn't need to go on that adventure. But I had to go and see and confirm for myself that there was nothing out there for me. So I used 2 different wind sounds. One of them is my accordion with none of the pitch producing buttons depressed. It's just the sound of the bellows breathing. And then the other wind sound is a sheet of paper that I rustled around an XY stereo mic. Accordion wind, take 1. We're going to make some paper wind out of an XY stereo mic and some paper. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do a really basic mix of a song. This is just like from start to finish. I've already tracked everything, and now I'm just going to go into Pro Tools and do a preliminary mix, and this is going to basically be taking your amateur raw recording and turning it into something that does not sound like garbage. Here we go. So the first thing I'm going to do is just normalize everything. Oh wait, actually before that. So I did a little bit of editing before this video. So I took out all of these parts over here that are where I'm not singing, because the mic I was using has it captures a lot of background noise. So I took out all of those, and then I also re-recorded a little bit over here. I like sang out of tune or something, so punched in over there. And then for the accordion and paper wind sounds, I added a little bit of a fade in so it didn't sound like it just came out of nowhere. Yeah, that's about it. So the first thing I'm going to do is normalize everything. I actually already did that for the accordion. But normalizing basically makes it so that the track that you normalize, the audio clip, is the max volume that it can be without clipping. So it takes the loudest sound, highest volume in your whole recording, and sets that to the maximum volume that your stereo can output. Okay, so I'm just going to select that, go to Audio Suite, Other, Normalize, Render. All right, and I'm actually going to do that for everything. So let's see, I'm going to zoom out here. Normalize my vocal track. Whoa, that got big. All right. Oh, I thought I normalized it, but it got renormalized. Anyway, that's okay. I probably normalized it before I cropped it, and then there was probably some loud thing in the beginning. Okay, everything's normalized, but far from normal. Okay. So this is what it sounds like. This is what's known as a flat mix. Flat as in everything is set to 0. All of the faders are at unity gain 0. Oops, this is not flat. Hold on, let me undo that. So everything's panned in the center, and all of them should be... They're not going to be the same volume, obviously. Like if you look at the waveform of the paper wind, it's a lot smaller than everything else, probably because it has the greatest dynamic range. So this is what it sounds like raw. I'm going to start where the vocals come in, just so we can have a preview of what everything sounds like together.
You seek the truth and thus become more wise. A fool you were to play the sleuth, for all there was were lies. When you give up your cosmic search and decide that you belong to Earth, leave behind the unknown. Don't be afraid to come
hearing that
home.
the accordion's really present, and I can't turn the guitar. And paper wind is almost not there. So the first thing I'm going to do is, before I even mess around with the levels, I know I'm going to want compression on like everything. So what compression does is it basically evens out the dynamic range and compresses it. So if you have like a dynamic range of like pianissimo to fortissimo, it's going to take all of it and squash that into a range of like, well, depending on how much you want to squash it or compress it, but I want to put everything in mezzo piano to mezzo forte range, so that, I mean, if I get famous enough for this to play on the radio or something, people are going to be listening to it in their car stereos, and they're going to be driving, so they're not going to be able to hear super soft sounds unless they turn it really loud, and then the super loud sounds will be too loud. So anyway, that's what compression is good for. It just makes everything, it makes it so that you can turn up everything so it's super loud and audible, while at the same time giving the illusion that there is loud and soft dynamics in there. So I'm going to add a compressor. I will use, this is my favorite compressor, is Maxim. And, oops, wow, wait, that is the wrong window. I did not want to drag that one. There we go. So, just to show you what it does, let's solo the guitar track. So this is the threshold. This is the cutoff where you say everything above this level in volume is going to be squashed down to that volume. So hold on, I can't talk and listen at the same time. Okay, so if I set the threshold to mezzo forte, anything that's louder than a mezzo forte will become mezzo forte. So all the fortissimo and the forte becomes mezzo forte. And so I'm going to set that threshold. Here for the guitar, I'm going to set it to, we're going to not squash it too much. I'm going to set it to around there. Okay. So the obvious effect is everything gets louder. Or, yes, everything's going to get louder. Actually, you know what? This would be more educational if I showed you what it does to the waveform. So these inserts change the sound like real time, and you can like mess with it. And I mean, you saw what I just did. But they don't let you see what it does to the actual waveform because it's not altering the sound clip. It's not rewriting your actual recording. It's just processing it as it plays back to you. So to show you what it looks like, I'm going to actually process the waveform. So I have the clip, I have the clip selected. I'm going to go into Audio Suite and choose the same plugin. This is Maxim. And we're going to set it to around there just to see what it's doing. What's it at? Like, I don't know, it's between -6 and -12. And I'm going to render it, which is going to permanently rewrite this. It's going to make a new file, a new audio file. It's going to replace the one that we have there. So that's what, now that I've processed it, this waveform is basically what this is doing, except you don't see it. So now you can see it. Basically it took all of, see how some of these peaks got lopped off and turned into like a square wave? So it's taking the loudest parts and saying, okay, you're not allowed to be that loud. We're gonna just like let you be the max that you can be. And then it's taking everything that's at that threshold at mezzo forte and saying mezzo forte is the new forte. And then if you're wondering what ceiling does, ceiling tells you how loud the max is allowed to be. So I'm going to Control Z to undo that. And just to show you what the ceiling does, we'll just set it to some arbitrary value and hit render. That's all it's going to do. You can see the peaks are still lopped off. It's like you seriously got like a chainsaw and just lopped off the top of that hedge. So there's still that going on, but the ceiling is set lower. So it's set to -6 dB. So it's saying the loudest sound that can come out of this track is going to be -6 decibels. So I'm going to undo that because we don't want that. Oh, actually, just to show you what it sounds like with overcompression. So this is what it looks like. If you compress the heck out of it, it becomes this block of sound. We don't want that. Just so you hear what that sounds like, which is going to be terrible, let's play it. It's just crusty. It's like when you talk too close to a microphone on your phone and then like the other person can't even tell what you're saying. Okay, anyway, so we're going for a tasteful amount of compression. Basically just looking for enough to even out the super loud and super quiet parts. So I think that sounds fine. I'm going to leave it like that. And then we may as well go ahead and add compression to the other tracks. What am I doing? Oh wait, you know, an easier way to do this is to click Alt and drag it over and it duplicates it with the settings and everything. So let's see how much compression the vocal track needs.
Up your cosmic search and decide.
So see all that orange stuff? I'm compressing all of that. Basically all of these peaks are getting lopped off. Maybe that's a little too much. I mean, it sounded fine actually, but I'm gonna not be as aggressive.
Up your cosmic search and decide that you belong to Earth.
I mean, that sounds fine to me. So I guess I'm gonna just copy that over. I don't know why that track has reverb.
Up your cosmic search and decide that.
I must have been singing into a weird reverby corner of the room. That doesn't make any sense. I recorded both of these in the same room, so. Wait, does this other one have reverb too? Let's see.
Up your cosmic search and decide that you belong to us.
You can hear the guy playing drums in the other room. I think he's doing a sound check on the floor tom. Anyway,
Up your cosmic search and decide that you belong to Earth. Leave behind the unknown.
I mean, that also sounds fine to me. Okay, and then accordion. So, let's see, Alt, click, copy. So the accordion, I actually don't want to add a ton of compression because part of the appeal of this accordion wind is that it phases in and out, and I do want it to have that swelling feeling instead of just being like in the background the whole time. So I'm not going to compress it too much, but I am going to do the thing where I bring the threshold down just kind of to bring the volume up actually.
Up your cosmic search.
All right, turn solo off, turn solo on. So I don't want to actually compress anything. I don't want any of that orange. I'm just going to put it there. Honestly, it's not super necessary. This is going to... Oh, I had it selected for vocals. Hold on. Hold on.
Up your cosmic search and decide that you belong to Earth.
Okay, very important. Make sure that the thing's white, not gray, because that means you're... At first I had this one selected, even though I was soloing the accordion track. Okay, let's do this. It's fine to do it. We'll leave it around there. So you can see when it gets louder, I'm actually getting a little bit of orange right there. When it's quiet, I'm not really actually compressing anything. I use the word actually a whole lot. Actually. I need to stop doing that. Okay. Actually. Now let's do the paper wind. So, unlike the accordion, I do want kind of a lot of compression on the paper wind because the appeal of the paper wind is that it's a stereo recording and it sounds like wind is traveling around your head, or like a thunderstorm is going all the way around you or something. And I want that effect, but I don't necessarily want a lot of variation in dynamics. I don't want it to sound like it gets closer and farther. I mean, I want a little bit of that, but not too much. So anyway, I'm going to add quite a bit of compression here. Okay, can't hardly hear anything. Look how quiet the whole thing is. So and it gets louder there. And it gets quiet again. So this is what compression is good for. It's going to bring all of the quiet stuff up to audible level, and then at the same time not let the super loud stuff clip. Alright, I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, now that I have all the compression done, I think I'm going to mess around with the faders and actually get all of them to be a good level with each other. And this is what people typically think of as mixing, is adjusting the volumes of things so that they sound good with each other. So I'm going to go ahead and play everything together and mess with these faders.
Up your cosmic search and decide that you
By the way, I know this is clipping. So basically, the master track is the master fader track is clipping, so that means everything's just too friggin' loud. So just gonna drag everything down just to start. I guess all that compression made everything super loud.
Up your cosmic search and decide that you belong to Earth. Leave behind the unknown. Don't be afraid to come home.
The accordion wind is like way too freaking pageant. Turn it down.
Unfaltering, you followed the shining light of your guiding star, but you found it doesn't guide you, only tells you where you are.
Okay. So let's see. Now let's focus on getting each of the individual components to shine through. So the idea behind, well, this is kind of like a mastering thing as opposed to a mixing thing, but it's part of mixing also. So one of the things you want to do when you mix or master is identify what the characteristic sounds, the key characteristics of that sound are, and try to highlight them, spotlight them, and then try to take away non-essential sounds. So what I'm going to do is EQ the guitar, EQ 3 to 7 band. So most instruments get their characteristic sound qualities from whatever overtones they have, as opposed to the fundamentals. So the fundamental is the note they're actually playing, and the overtones are all of the other little flavor. It's just like flavor overtones. It's like something can taste like chocolate, but then you also get notes of hazelnut and coffee in there or something. But the main flavor is chocolate. So the idea with mastering is you want to feature the hazelnut and the coffee because we already know that it's chocolate. There's no mistaking it. This guitar is definitely guitar. Okay. Also note that I put the EQ, the equalizer, before the compression. I intentionally left a slot on all of these for EQ because if you're cutting or adding, if you're basically subtracting or adding volume to your sound, you probably want to do that before you do things like reverb, for example, because if you take out, for example, if you take out some offensive sound like a low humming or something like that from your recording, you probably want to do that before you send it to a reverb plugin because you don't want the low humming and buzzing to be reverbing and then have to go and take it out of that recording. That doesn't make any sense. So you take it out first and then instead of sending all that junk over to your reverb plugin. So anyway, we're gonna equalize this. For guitar, actually for most musical instruments, the fundamental frequencies are going to be in the 100 to 200, maybe 100 to 400 hertz range. Like middle A is 440 hertz. And then, well, guitar is lower than like a violin is lower than that range mostly. So we're probably going to make a cut here to reduce the presence of the fundamental frequency. And then we're going to probably do a tiny little boost in the treble area to give it a little bit of sparkle. So I'm turning on the vocal tracks also. We're going to leave out the sound effects for now. I'm going to turn on the vocal tracks so that we can hear how clearly the guitar is poking out through the mix, through the vocal tracks.
Up your cosmic search and decide that you belong to Earth. Leave behind the unknown. Don't be afraid
So I don't know if you heard that,
home.
but the guitar actually sounds clearer even though we made a cut. So there's the illusion of it shining, sparkling more. It sounds like it got louder in a way. It's more present without being louder.
Of your guiding
So
star,
I'm gonna toggle it between this cut and with and without this cut, and then you can hear the difference it makes. Okay, not while I'm not singing though. Let's play it again while I'm singing, and I'm gonna do it with and without the cut.
Up your cosmic search and decide that you belong to Earth. Leave behind the unknown. Don't be afraid to come home.
So overall, when I do the cut, when we're cutting away the frequencies, it does sound quieter. You can hear there's a volume drop, but you also can hear the individual plucking notes a little bit better. Another thing we're going to do is a tiny bit of a boost. Why is it? Oh, it's because of Maxim. Okay. It's clipping a little bit here. Anyway, we're also going to add a little bit of sparkle in the treble. So let's do that.
Up your cosmic search and decide that you belong to Earth. Leave behind the unknown. Don't be afraid to come home. Unfaltering, you followed the shining light of your guiding star, but you found it doesn't guide you.
So, I don't know if you can tell, it sounds a little bit cleaner with the EQ that we did. EQ fix. Alright, so I could go and do that with the vocals, but I personally hate any kind of EQ stuff messing with my voice. I mean, I already don't like the way I sound. I think it's a problem that everyone has. No one likes the way they sound when they're recorded because it's not what we hear in our inner ears. But I'm just not going to mess with it. All right, so now that I have that done, I'm going to readjust my volume here.
Up your cosmic search and decide that you belong to Earth. Leave behind the
Okay. And then, one thing I wanted to do actually is do panning. So for the vocals, we can get a lot more definition out of the high and low harmonies by panning them left and right. So instead of having one, it sounds like both singers are standing right in front of you. By the way, if you don't have your headphones or nice stereo speakers plugged in, you should plug them in because this is a stereo mix and you're gonna like kind of miss the point unless you can hear different things in your left and right ear. So if you have like a crappy laptop speakers right now, get off of them, put on some headphones. All right. So I'm gonna pan the high harmonies to the right for treble and the low harmonies to the left for bass. And that will give the illusion that you have a singer on your right and your left instead of both singers stacked on top of each other in front of your face.
Up your cosmic search and decide that you belong to Earth. Leave behind the unknown. Don't be afraid to come home.
All right, and we're clipping again. What am I doing? Okay, cool. So I don't know if you heard any difference, but I mean, I hear a difference. All right, next thing is we're gonna add some reverb. All right, so for some reason this vocal track has reverb on it already.
Up your cosmic search.
So we're just gonna try to match that with the other track. I don't know why it has reverb on it. I'm so confused. Wait, why am I looking for reverb? Okay. Okay. Now we're gonna listen to the one that didn't have reverb, that doesn't have reverb, and we're gonna add reverb and try to match the first track.
Up your cosmic search and decide
Actually,
that
that's
you
pretty
belong to
good.
Earth. Leave behind the unknown. Don't be afraid to come home.
All right, that sounds fine. Let's hear both of them together.
Up your cosmic search and decide
drum
that
in the
you
background.
belong to Earth. Leave be-
Okay, cool. So time to make this really epic. We're going to add a ton of reverb to the guitar. I'm going for like cheesy drama reverb, so.
Up your cosmic search and decide that you belong to Earth. Leave
some stereo
behind
reverb.
the unknown. Don't
We're gonna
be
do church
afraid to
reverb.
come home.
Maybe not that much.
Unfaltering, you followed the shining light of your guiding star, but you found it doesn't guide you.
One thing I'm gonna do is make sure that the high frequency cut is kind of lowish. We don't want it up here because that's going to allow all of those kind of like random metallic-y sounds to reverb, and we don't want to emphasize those. I'm going for like a mellow reverb, so
Up your
listen to the
cosmic
difference.
search and decide that you belong to Earth. Leave behind the unknown. Don't be afraid to come home. Unfaltering, you follow.
Maybe I'm full of crap. Actually, it doesn't sound like there's a difference at all. Don't listen to me. Okay. So anyway, this is with and without reverb for the guitar.
Up your
Bypass
cosmic
it.
search and decide that you belong to Earth. Leave behind the unknown. Don't be
I feel like
afraid
there's
to
too big of a volume loss, and I'm going to turn down the diffusion. That's how much of your sound's allowed to diffuse into the church.
Up your cosmic search and decide that you belong to Earth. Leave behind the
So that
unknown.
sounds pretty good for me.
Don't be afraid to come
So it sounds like it's in
home.
a small small hall, and now it's apparently in a church. Okay. Okie dokes. Now's the fun part. We're gonna get to the sound effects. So I'm going to turn off the solos. We're going to just listen to everything. Okay, the accordion breath actually sounds fine as is, but the paper wind to me sounds like paper. It actually sounds like what it is, which is me waving a piece of paper around the microphone. So let's actually solo that first, and I'm going to use some EQ to bring up the bass so that it sounds like maybe a beefier sheet of paper instead of a letter-sized piece of paper. So let's insert, what am I doing? Multi-channel plugin, EQ, again. Okay, so another way of bringing up the bass is to cut the treble. It's the same thing. So let's pick a spot that doesn't swell very much. So we'll listen to this little part right here. So there's our wind and thunder and stuff. So if we do a little bit of a cut in the treble section, how come I can't click it? We're gonna do like a huge cut actually. Cut out all that treble, and maybe we'll just go for double whammy, boost the bass also. All right. Sounds like a fatter sheet of paper compared to... Well, okay, that was an unfair comparison because the paper gets close to the mic over there. Hold on. Let's do that again. Okay, and then here's without that. Hear that like high-pitched crinkle? There. I'm gonna replay it with the new EQ. So that little crinkly sound, the treble paper, is not so much detectable when we have this huge bass boost and a huge treble cut. Alright, so I'm pretty happy with that. Let's hear how everything sounds like together.
And decide that you belong to Earth. Leave behind the unknown. Don't be afraid to come home. And decide.
I saw that little spot selected. Okay, now we're clipping here, and what I'm gonna do is add, again, we're gonna add maximum. Ooh. And we're gonna use this as a limiter. So this is to prevent clipping. We're gonna add a tiny ceiling, so that basically means that our entire mix, all of these things together, cannot add up to more than 0.1 of a decibel below the max allowable output of the whole system, the whole stereo system. And actually, there's a whole lot of, I guess, wasted headroom here, so I'm gonna usually do this last, but you could drag this down and compress that top bit. I'm gonna save that for later, actually. So.
Don't be afraid to come home. Unfaltering, you followed the shining light of your guiding star, but you found it doesn't guide you, only tells you where you are.
One thing, let's see. Actually, is it time to do that? It might be time to do that. Okay. So now now that we've done our basic mix, it might be time to add some automation. So automation, you don't want to mess with that until you're done with your mix, because you won't be able to mess with these faders once you add automation. So let's see, change it to volume view, and basically what I'm gonna want to do is I want to raise the volume of the guitar every time there's no vocals, so that it doesn't sound empty, like, oh, the vocals went away and now it's quiet. So let me actually zoom in because I can't see anything right here. Okay, I'm gonna use this hand tool, and every time the vocals come in or out, I'm gonna add a little bit of a, let's undo that. Add a little bit of a fade. Okay. just a tiny bit. And I think I lowered it by like 2 decibels or something. And then when the vocals drop out, I raise the level again. And let's see, right here, drop back down. Come back up. I don't know what this is. Maybe that's when I slide on the strings and make a metallic sound. Probably sounds like crap. Okay. How many of these are there? Yep. Did I do that right? Alright. I guess I could just stay quiet for the end because it fades out. I may as well, just for consistency's sake, bring this back up a tiny bit. Okay. Alright, zoom out again. That's what it looks like. Now let's listen to that. Actually, let's listen to this spot in particular. Hear that transition.
Don't be afraid to come home.
So hear how that empty space is now occupied by the guitar. It rose to take the place of the vocals. Okay, cool. I'm gonna go back into waveform view just so it looks nice. Okay, cool. So I think I might be nearly done with my preliminary mix. We're gonna go back here and look at that compression now. So I'm just trying to make everything as loud as possible for the radio.
Seek the truth and thus become more wise. A fool you were to play the sleuth, for all there was were lies. When you give up your cosmic search and decide that you belong to Earth, leave behind the unknown. Don't be afraid to come home.
So just to show you how you can't mess with the fader once you add automation, check this out. I can do that, and it just pops right back up automatically.
You followed the shining light of your guiding star, but you found it doesn't guide you, only tells you where you are. To foreign lands to see what's to be seen, and now at last you understand that all there was has been. When you give up your hero's quest and settle for just happiness, leave behind the unknown, that's when you should come home. The start, only finding all you wanted was always in your heart.
Okay. I forgot to add a fade here. Okay. Actually, it'd be nice if it just faded out a little bit sooner, but that's okay. Tiny fade there. Cool. Okay, well, there's my preliminary mix, and wow, that took 35 minutes. I guess that's it. Oh, I realized where my fades went. When I normalized the tracks, it got rid of the fades, but the fades were still there. Okay, well, anyway. Cool, I'm not crazy. Anyway, that is my mix. Now, very important. Bounce it, and then listen to it on like a million different speakers because it's gonna sound different everywhere. This mix sounds great on my headphones, but it might sound like crap in my car stereo. So let's see, what should I call this? For video. For YouTube. Okay. I'm gonna bounce it, and then I'm gonna go listen to it in my living room. Alright, that's all.
the truth and thus become more wise. A fool you were to play the sleuth, for all there was were lies. When you give up your cosmic search and decide that you belong to Earth, leave behind the unknown. Don't be afraid to come home. Unfaltering, you followed the shining light of your guiding star, but you found it doesn't guide you, only tells you where you are. To foreign lands to see what's to be seen, and now at last you understand that all there was has been. When you give up your hero's quest and settle for just happiness, leave behind the unknown, that's when you should come home.